There's a moment before every trade, a silence between thought and action. It's in that silence that everything begins. Most traders look at charts searching for patterns, but the real patterns are within you. Fear, impulse, hope, doubt, the same emotions repeating in endless cycles. You think you're trading price, but you're really trading your own mind. This isn't just another playbook. It's a mirror, a single page that reflects your psychology, your discipline, your patience. Because the breakout and the retest aren't just technical events on a chart. They are moments of truth within you, the breakout of awareness and the retest of self-control. So before we begin, take a breath. Slow down. Let go of what you think you know. Because this isn't a strategy lesson. It's a conversation between you and the part of you that wants to master peace in chaos. Welcome to Mind Over Markets. Welcome to the one-page playbook. You sit in front of the chart. The candles move quietly, almost like breathing. You tell yourself you're calm. You tell yourself you're waiting. But deep down, something else is happening. You feel it, that small invisible pull in your chest. The market begins to rise, the breakout forms, and suddenly your mind starts whispering, "This is it." It's the same whisper every trader hears. It promises freedom, validation, certainty. And yet, it's a lie wrapped in excitement. The breakout retest, it looks simple on paper. Wait for the move, wait for the pullback, wait for confirmation. But in practice, it's never just a setup. It's a mirror. It reflects your fears, your impatience, your hidden beliefs about money and control. Every time price pushes beyond resistance, your brain releases dopamine. You see green candles and your nervous system lights up like it's watching opportunity slip away. You start to imagine what will happen if you don't take it. What if it runs without you? What if this was the one move that could have changed everything? That thought, the fear of missing out, it doesn't come from logic. It comes from survival. Your mind doesn't care about probabilities. It cares about belonging. It cares about not feeling left behind. When you see others winning, your brain interprets that as danger. It tells you act now or lose your chance to survive. That's why you click buy before the retest even begins. Not because you don't know better, but because your emotions hijack the process. And when the market turns, when it comes back to retest exactly where you should have entered, you feel shame, that quiet, sharp disappointment that hides beneath the surface. You start to question yourself. You tell yourself you'll never make the same mistake again. But the truth is, it's not a lack of knowledge. It's the conditioning of your nervous system. Trading is not a test of skill. It's a test of self-awareness. Every breakout retest setup is a psychological experiment. It asks a single question. Can you sit still in uncertainty? Most traders can't. They crave motion because motion feels like progress. But markets reward stillness. They reward patience, the kind of patience that burns. You see, the breakout retest isn't just about price returning to a level. It's about your mind returning to balance. It's about the moment between reaction and response, that pause, the space between impulse and intention. That's where mastery lives. When you stare at a breakout and feel the urge to enter too soon, you're not seeing a setup fail. You're witnessing your subconscious reaching for safety. The chart becomes a stage where your inner patterns play out again and again. Fear of missing out, fear of loss, fear of being wrong. The market doesn't punish you, it reveals you. And if you can learn to see that revelation without judgment, you begin to transform. Close your eyes for a moment. Imagine that breakout again. The candles pushing higher. The breakout triggers the crowd. Everyone wants in. But you breathe, you watch, you remind yourself, I am not the crowd. You remember that patience is not weakness, it is restraint, born of understanding. You let the market come to you. And in that stillness, something shifts. You are no longer chasing the trade. You are observing yourself. That is the first step of mastery, not controlling the market, but controlling the need to control it. Because every time you wait for the retest, you are teaching your brain a new language, the language of probability, the language of detachment. You are reprogramming your nervous system to act from clarity instead of craving. This is the hidden playbook of the breakout retest. It is not drawn in lines on a chart. It is written in the silence between your thoughts. It is the art of watching without needing. The world outside will always tell you that trading is about entries, exits, indicators, and systems. But those are only tools. The real battlefield is internal. It's between the part of you that wants control and the part that trusts the process. Every trader reaches this crossroads, the moment when the chart moves and the heartbeat races, where discipline feels like loss. But if you can hold through that discomfort, you will realize that pain is the gateway. It's not punishment, it's transformation. Because each time you resist the urge to chase, you are reclaiming power. You are breaking the habit of impulsive certainty. You are telling your brain, I don't need to know what happens next. I just need to follow my plan. And that is freedom. Not the freedom of never losing, but the freedom of never losing yourself. When you trade from presence instead of panic, your decisions align with your preparation. The noise fades. You begin to see the market as it is, not as a reflection of your fear. This is why so few traders succeed, because they think success is found in prediction, but in truth it is found in patience, in emotional regulation, in the quiet discipline of waiting for the retest, both on the chart and within. The breakout retest is not a pattern. It is a metaphor. For every moment you feel pulled by life to react, to chase, to prove yourself. And every time you choose to wait, to breathe, to observe, to trust, you reinforce the trader's mindset that lasts beyond markets. You are not learning a setup. You are learning yourself. And this is where the real playbook begins. You've seen it happen countless times. The breakout forms, the market moves, and for a moment it feels like clarity. But clarity is deceptive, because beneath that moment of excitement lies an invisible storm, the conflict between what you know and what you feel. Knowledge tells you to wait. Emotion tells you to act. And in trading, emotion almost always speaks louder. This is the moment where traders lose, not to the market, but to themselves. It's not the chart that breaks them, it's the noise inside their own minds. When you sit in front of that screen, what you're really facing isn't price action. It's your own psychology unfolding in real time. Every candle becomes a mirror. Every tick reflects your relationship with uncertainty. You crave certainty. Your mind wants to feel in control. So it builds stories about what should happen, stories about what you deserve, stories that make the random feel predictable. But the market doesn't care about your stories. It moves on its own rhythm. And the harder you try to control it, the more it controls you. This is the internal conflict of every trader. The desire for certainty battling against the truth of uncertainty. The breakout retest exposes this battle like no other setup, because it demands surrender. It demands you trust that opportunity will come back to you, that you don't need to chase it. But surrender feels like loss to the ego. The ego doesn't want patience. It wants validation. It wants to feel right. It wants to prove something to the market, to others, to yourself. That's why when the breakout happens, the ego whispers, if you miss this, you'll look foolish. If you don't act now, someone else will profit. You've waited long enough, take it. And so without realizing it, you obey. You enter early. You click buy, not because the setup is ready, but because you can't stand the silence of not knowing. The silence of waiting feels unbearable because it confronts you with yourself. It confronts you with the truth that you are not in control. But here's the paradox. The moment you accept that lack of control, that's when you actually gain it back. Because control in trading doesn't mean forcing the market. It means mastering your response to it. The internal conflict begins to fade when you stop fighting uncertainty and start dancing with it. When you realize that your edge doesn't come from prediction, it comes from patience. Think about this. Every professional trader you admire is doing one simple thing. They're waiting for alignment. Not emotional alignment, but probabilistic alignment. They understand that no single trade matters because their edge is not in outcome, but in consistency. Your edge is not in knowing. Your edge is in being okay with not knowing. When you internalize that truth, the breakout retest becomes more than a setup. It becomes a meditation. The breakout, that's your emotional trigger. The retest, that's your opportunity to respond consciously. Most traders live in reaction. They see, they feel, they click. But the masters live in awareness. They see, they feel, and they pause. They let the wave of emotion rise and fall before taking action. Because emotions are not the enemy. They're signals. They show you where your mind still clings, where you still seek safety and control instead of clarity and presence. The moment you feel urgency, pause. Ask yourself, what am I afraid will happen if I wait? Usually the answer isn't about money. It's about identity. You fear that missing the trade means missing your chance to prove your worth. You fear that being wrong means being inadequate. But trading isn't a judgment of your worth. It's a reflection of your process. Detach your identity from your outcome and the internal conflict dissolves. You are not your last trade. You are the sum of your discipline. The market cannot hurt you unless you give it permission through attachment. It can only reveal where you still attach to ego, to outcome, to the illusion of control. When price returns to retest, most traders feel discomfort. They see the same level that once represented failure. They hesitate. They think, what if it breaks again? What if I lose again? But in that hesitation lies the invitation. It's not about the setup, it's about the self. Every retest is life asking, can you try again without fear? Can you engage the same situation with new awareness? Growth in trading is not measured by profit. It's measured by how quickly you return to neutrality after emotion, how gracefully you can re-engage without attachment. The internal conflict doesn't disappear, it transforms. You stop resisting it and begin to observe it. You see your fear rise, but you don't run from it. You see impatience surface, but you don't obey it. You simply let them pass through. That is the essence of trading psychology. You are not trying to eliminate emotion. You are learning to witness it without reacting. Imagine yourself watching the chart again. The breakout happens. You feel the familiar pulse of excitement, but this time you smile because you recognize the pattern not in price but in yourself. You feel the impulse, but you let it float by like a cloud. You know that your strength lies not in action but in restraint. This is emotional alchemy, turning fear into focus, turning impatience into intention, turning chaos into clarity. The longer you trade, the more you'll see that every setup is just a canvas for your psychology. The chart is your journal. Each candle is a line written by your state of mind. And over time, as awareness deepens, you stop reacting to the market altogether. You begin to respond to yourself. You begin to realize that the real breakout is not on the chart, it's internal. The retest is not of price, but of your patience. It's the universe checking whether you've truly learned to wait. That's the irony of trading. The better you become at waiting, the less you need to chase. The less you chase, the more the market seems to come to you, because the market rewards emotional maturity. So when you feel conflict between fear and trust, between impulse and discipline, don't rush to silence it. Just listen. Let it teach you, because within that conflict lies your evolution as a trader and as a person. Every setup is a lesson, every emotion is a signal, and every retest is a chance to respond differently. You are not fighting the market. You are learning to be still while it moves. And in that stillness, you begin to see the truth. The market doesn't test your strategy. It tests your self-awareness. It asks you gently, quietly, are you willing to trust the process even when you can't see the outcome? If you can answer yes, then you have already won. There comes a moment in every trader's journey when the noise begins to fade. The endless search for perfect setups, perfect indicators, perfect entries, it all starts to lose its grip. You begin to understand that mastery isn't about adding more, it's about letting go. You stop trying to outsmart the market. You start learning to align with it. And in that shift, something profound awakens inside you. The same breakout that once made your heart race now feels neutral. The same pullback that once triggered fear now feels familiar, because you've changed the meaning. The retest no longer represents risk. It represents readiness. It's not the market coming back to challenge you. It's the market coming back to offer you another chance to act with presence instead of panic. This is transformation, not the kind you measure in account balance or win rate, but the kind that changes how you exist in the market and in life. You see, trading mirrors everything. How you handle uncertainty here is how you handle uncertainty everywhere. The way you chase trades reflects the way you chase validation, success, and control. The way you wait for confirmation reflects the way you trust timing in life itself. When you begin to see that connection trading becomes more than a craft, it becomes a spiritual practice. Every entry, every exit, every loss becomes a moment of reflection. You begin to notice patterns, not just in charts, but in thought, and slowly you realize that the market has been your teacher all along. Because what does the market do really? It rises, it falls, it consolidates, it tests levels, it breaks out, it retests, it moves in cycles, just like you. You rise with confidence. You fall into doubt. You consolidate in confusion. You test your limits. You break out of old patterns. You retest your discipline. And through it all, you evolve. That's the real playbook, the one-page manual that can't be written down, only his. The breakthrough every trader is searching for isn't in strategy, it's in surrender. The moment you stop forcing outcomes, you start flowing with probability. You stop fighting randomness and start working with it. And then something extraordinary happens. You begin to see clearly. You stop labeling trades as good or bad. You stop labeling days as wins or losses. You just see data, feedback, information. Every trade becomes neutral. Every outcome becomes useful. And from that neutrality comes power. Calm, grounded, unshakable power. This is what great traders understand. The goal is not to remove emotion. It's to remove attachment. Attachment is the root of suffering in life and in trading. When you attach to being right, every loss feels like pain. When you attach to profit, every drawdown feels like failure. But when you attach only to the process, everything becomes progress. You can lose a trade and still win the day. You can draw down inequity and still rise in awareness. Because now your success is defined not by your balance, but by your balance of mind. You learn to enter without fear. You learn to exit without regret. You learn to wait without anxiety. That is emotional freedom. You no longer chase the market. You invite it. You no longer demand certainty. You dance with uncertainty. You no longer trade to prove yourself. You trade to express mastery. When you reach this state, the market becomes quiet. The noise of indicators, predictions, and opinions no longer matters. Because you know the truth, no one can see the future, but you can control your state in the present. The breakout retest becomes a metaphor for the entire journey of growth. The breakout is your awakening, the spark of ambition, the desire for more. The retest is life's way of asking, are you ready to live what you've learned? Every time you think you've mastered something, life will send you a retest, not to break you, but to verify your foundation. And if you hold steady, if you stay patient, grounded, and aware, you pass the test. You evolve to the next level of understanding. That's what trading teaches you, if you let it. To stay present under pressure, to act without attachment, to believe without illusion. It teaches you that waiting is not weakness, it's wisdom, that losing is not failure, it's feedback, that control is not dominance, it's discipline. Every chart you open is an opportunity to practice awareness. Every fluctuation is a lesson in letting go. And every retest is a chance to respond with maturity instead of emotion. You no longer see patterns, you see principles. You no longer chase moves, you follow meaning. And eventually, trading becomes peaceful. Not because it's easy, but because you've become still. The same chart that once triggered chaos in you now feels like meditation. You enter the market with the same calm you bring to silence. And in that stillness, decisions flow effortlessly. There's no noise, no panic, no rush, only rhythm. That's when you realize the market never changed. You did. And that's the secret no one tells you. The strategy doesn't make you consistent. Your state of mind does. When you master the space between impulse and action, you become unshakable. You no longer react to volatility, you flow with it. You stop fearing drawdowns because you trust recovery. You stop clinging to wins because you trust repetition. Consistency is emotional equilibrium. And emotional equilibrium is the trader's enlightenment. So when you look at the chart tomorrow, don't ask, where's the next trade? Ask, where's my mind right now? Is it calm or chaotic? Is it patient or pressured? Because the state you trade from will always determine the results you get. The breakout retest, then, is not a playbook, it's a practice. It's a way of aligning your psychology with the probabilities of the market. It's a way of aligning your emotions with the neutrality of price. Every day you have a choice to chase or to wait, to react or to respond, to force or to flow. You are not here to predict the market. You are here to understand yourself within it. And when you understand yourself deeply enough, the market reveals its nature to you because it's the same nature, unpredictable, impermanent, cyclical, beautiful. You begin to see every loss as tuition, every drawdown as development, every retest as renewal. That is the trader's awakening. To realize that this path was never about charts, it was about consciousness. The chart was just the mirror. The real market has always been within you. So breathe, wait, trust. The breakout will come, the retest will come. And when it does, you'll be ready not because you've mastered the setup, but because you've mastered yourself. This is your one-page playbook. And it was never about trading. It was about transformation. The chart fades. The trade is done. The candles stop moving, but your awareness keeps expanding. You've seen the market. You've seen yourself. And maybe now you understand that they were never separate. Every breakout was your own courage. Every retest your own doubt. Every loss a lesson. Every win a whisper. That mastery is not about prediction. It's about presence. When you leave this video, the markets will still move. The noise will still exist, but you will move differently within them. You will trade with patience, with balance, with detachment, because now you know the greatest setup is the one that happens inside. This is your reminder. Wait for the retest. In the chart, in life, in yourself. And when it comes, be ready not to react, but to respond. This is Mind Over Markets.